Hello and welcome. I'm starting a new tutorial series on Stable Diffusion AI using the ComfyUI interface. I've been experimenting with ComfyUI for quite some time and I am still learning. In this series, I'll share everything I've learned from a practical creator's point of view. I'll try to explain things in a simple and visual way so that it's easy to understand even if you're a complete beginner. The series will be divided into small episodes so that you can watch them in some order and progress step by step from beginner to advanced. In this first episode, I'll explain what ComfyUI is, along with its advantages and disadvantages. Then, we'll go through the complete installation process step by step. After that, we'll download different AI models to use in our workflow. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to generate your first image for free using your own computer. So, what exactly is ComfyUI? In simple words, ComfyUI is a node-based interface built specifically for creating and managing workflows. It lets you create AI images by visually connecting different steps or nodes together. Instead of guessing what's happening in the background, you can actually see the whole workflow, much like using Lego blocks. Each node or block does one specific job, and when you connect them properly, everything just works. On this slide, you can see the main advantages and limitations of ComfyUI. One of the biggest strengths is the visual, node-based workflow. Instead of guessing what the AI is doing, you can actually see every step, which gives you a lot more control. ComfyUI is also extremely flexible. You can start with very basic setups and then slowly build more advanced workflows as you learn. Another important advantage is that everything runs locally on your own computer. This means you can generate images, videos, text to speech, and more without relying on cloud tools or subscriptions. It also makes collaboration easier. People can share entire workflows and you can load them, study how they work, and adapt them for your own use. Now let's look at some limitations. First, ComfyUI does have a learning curve. The node-based interface can feel overwhelming, especially if you're completely new. System requirements are another important factor. At a minimum, you'd want at least 8 GB of VRAM and 16 GB of system RAM for a smooth experience. And of course, more is always better. For performance, NVIDIA GPUs are generally preferred since they're faster and better supported. And finally, while shared workflows are very powerful, they can sometimes be difficult to understand, especially if they're complex or not well organized. Now that you understand what ComfyUI offers and what it requires, let's move on to installing it step by step. In this section, I'll show you how to download and install ComfyUI step by step. I'm using an NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti with 16 GB of VRAM and 32 GB of system RAM for this demo. You don't need this exact setup to follow along. ComfyUI also works on systems with lower VRAM and can even run on the CPU, although the performance will be slower. Now let's get started. We will start at the official ComfyUI website. From here, we'll head over to the official GitHub page. I'll leave the link to both in the description below. Now that we're on the ComfyUI GitHub page, this might look a little overwhelming at first, especially if you're new to GitHub. Let me briefly explain what you're looking at as we scroll down. At the very top, you'll see the main repository, which contains all the core code and related files for ComfyUI. As we scroll down, you'll notice several sections, including features, examples, shortcuts, manual installation instructions, and ComfyUI Manager. These are all important resources that you can come back to later. For example, the example section contains ready-made workflows that you can load and learn from, which is great for understanding how different setups work. The features section shows what ComfyUI is capable of, often grouped by use case, which can be helpful when you're looking for a workflow for a specific task. You'll also find a shortcuts section that lists useful keyboard shortcuts to help you work more efficiently. As we keep scrolling, you will see installation instructions for different operating systems, followed by a section called the ComfyUI Manager. ComfyUI Manager is an extension that lets you install, update, and manage custom nodes directly inside ComfyUI. This is an extremely useful tool, and we'll look at how to install and use it later in this video. For installation, the section we want to focus on right now is Get Started. This is where ComfyUI shows the different ways you can install it. Installing ComfyUI is actually pretty straightforward. I could explain this very quickly, but I want to walk through it step by step so you understand exactly what's happening and don't miss anything important. Here, you'll see options like the desktop application and the Windows Portable package. For this tutorial, we'll use the Windows Portable package since it's fully portable and commonly used by creators. Once you click this option, it will take you to the installing section where you'll find the direct download link for the ComfyUI portable version. From here, we click this link and download the file to our system. You can choose a specific folder or it will download to your download folder by default. In my case, I'll be downloading it to a prompter folder on my C drive. The file is around 1.6 GB, so it may take a little time to download depending on your internet speed. Once the download is complete, I'll walk you through the next steps. Now that the file has finished downloading, the next step is to extract it. Before we do that, it's important to unblock the file to avoid any issues during extraction. To do this, right-click the downloaded file, select Properties, and if you see an unblock option, check it and click Apply. Once that's done, we can extract the archive. I have 7-zip installed on my system, so I'll use that to extract the contents into the same folder. If you're using a different tool like WinZip or the built-in Windows extractor, that works just as well. After extraction is complete, we'll be ready to move on to the next step. Now that extraction is complete, let's open the ComfyUI folder. You'll see a few files and folders here, but we don't need to worry about them just yet. To start ComfyUI, we just need to run the appropriate startup file. Since I'm using an NVIDIA GPU, I'll double-click Run NVIDIA GPU.bat. If you're using a different setup, you can use one of the other startup files in this folder. A command window will open, and that's completely normal. This means ComfyUI is starting in the background. The first launch can take a little longer, so just let it run. When ComfyUI is ready, it will usually open automatically in your browser. If it doesn't open on its own, you'll see a local address in the command window. In that case, you can simply copy this address and paste it into your browser. Once the page loads, you'll see an interface like this. That means ComfyUI has started successfully. Now, before we generate our first image, let me briefly explain what you're looking at here. You don't need to understand everything yet. This is just a quick orientation. What you're seeing is a node-based workflow. Each block or node represents one step in the image generation process. When these nodes are connected together, they form a complete workflow. If you follow the connections from left to right, you can see how the image flows through each step. Now let's look at this first node on the left, Load Checkpoint. This node is responsible for loading the AI model that ComfyUI will use. If I click here and try to select a model, you will notice that nothing is available right now. That's because on a fresh install, ComfyUI doesn't come with any models pre-installed. This is completely normal. It simply means we need to download a model and place it in the correct folder so ComfyUI can find it. Once a model is added here, this workflow will be ready to run. So let's do that next. To download a model, we'll use a website called CivitAI, which is one of the most popular places to find stable diffusion models. This is the CivitAI website. I'll leave a link to this site in the description below. If you scroll down here, you'll notice a lot of different models and artwork created by the community. This can feel a bit overwhelming at first, but we'll narrow it down step by step. To download a model, we first need to go to the Models section. I'll click on Models here at the top. Because there are so many models available, the easiest way to work is by using filters. I'll open the Filters panel on the right. First, under Model Type, I'll select Checkpoint. Checkpoint models are full base models, which is what we need for ComfyUI. For checkpoint type, I'll leave this set to all. Next, under file format, I'll select Safe Tensor. Safe tensor files are safer and more reliable than older formats, so this is always a good choice. Now under base model, I'll select SD 1.5. This is important because our current workflow in ComfyUI is built for SD 1.5 models. At this point, we are looking at a filtered list of SD 1.5 checkpoint models that are compatible with our workflow. To make things even simpler, I'll sort these by highest rated. This helps surface models that are widely used and well tested by the community. From this list, you can choose any model you like. For this demo, I'm going to use a popular beginner-friendly model called Perfect Deliberate. I'll click on the model to open its page. At the top here, you'll notice there are multiple versions of this model. Not all of them use the same base model. For example, if I click on version 5 and look on the right, you can see that the base model is not SD 1.5. That version won't work with our current workflow. So we need to make sure we select a version that clearly shows base model SD 1.5 here on the right. I'll select the SD 1.5 version of Perfect Deliberate. This is the one we want. To download it, I'll click the download button here. This file is about 2.24 gigabytes, so make sure you have enough disk space available. The download might take a few minutes depending on your internet speed. Once the download is complete, we place this file into the checkpoints folder inside ComfyUI. Then we return to ComfyUI, select the model, and generate our first image. Now let's place the model where ComfyUI can find it. I'll open my downloads folder, and here is the model file we just downloaded. I'll right-click this file and copy it. Next, I'll navigate to the ComfyUI folder. Inside ComfyUI, open the models folder, then open checkpoints. This is where all checkpoint models need to live. I'll paste the model file here. Once the file is in place, we can go back to ComfyUI in the browser. Back in ComfyUI, you'll notice that the model we downloaded is still not showing up in the load checkpoint node. This is happening because ComfyUI hasn't refreshed yet, so it doesn't know that a new model has been added. To make the model visible, we just need to refresh the node definitions. I'll click on the ComfyUI icon here at the top. From the menu, I'll go to Edit and then select Refresh Node Definitions. When we do this, ComfyUI rescans the folders and picks up the new model. Alternatively, you can simply press the R key on your keyboard or refresh the browser window. All three do the same thing. As you can see, when I click on the Load Checkpoint node now, the model is available for use. I'll select it here. At this point, the workflow is fully connected and ready to run. Before we click Run, there's one quick thing I want to show you. If we go back to the Civit AI page for this model and scroll down, you'll see that the model author has shared recommended settings. These settings are designed to give the best results with this specific model. So instead of guessing, we'll use them directly inside ComfyUI. I'll start by updating the resolution in the empty latent image node. For this example, I'll use 1024 by 1024, which is one of the recommended options. Next, I'll set the CFG scale to 7 and the steps to 30, both within the recommended range. For the sampler, I'll choose Euler Ray as suggested by the model author. Now I'll add a simple positive prompt which describes what we want to see in the image. And I'll add a basic negative prompt which tells the model what to avoid, things like watermarks, blurry details, or unwanted artifacts. With everything set, we can now click Run and generate our first image. As soon as we click Run, you'll notice something interesting happening on the screen. If you look closely, the K-sampler node is currently highlighted. This simply means that ComfyUI is actively processing that step of the workflow. Once the K-sampler finishes its job, the process automatically moves to the next node, from decoding the image all the way through to saving the final result. You can think of this like a pipeline. Each node runs one after the other from left to right. And there we go. Our image is now generated successfully. If you look at the command window, you can see how long the generation took. In this case, it took around 16.46 seconds to generate the image. Sometimes, you might also notice that the very first generation takes a little longer. That's completely normal as the model is being loaded into memory for the first time. If we run the workflow again by slightly changing the prompt, the image will be generated faster than the first run. As you can see here, that this time it only takes about 12.9 seconds to generate the image, which is faster than the last time. By default, ComfyUI saves the output image inside the output folder located in the main ComfyUI directory. Let's navigate to the folder and check it out. The file name usually includes the word ComfyUI, followed by a number which makes it easy to identify. And just like that, you've generated your very first image locally using ComfyUI. In the next video, I'll explain nodes and workflow basics in ComfyUI. I'll also show how to install ComfyUI Manager and where it fits into the overall workflow. If you found this video helpful, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It really helps support the channel.